So with Tyson Fury announcing his retirement this week on Monday, it left a big hole in the heavyweight division. No, it didn't leave a big hole in the heavyweight division. That's the wrong way to say it. It left a big hole in the career of Anthony Joshua in terms of what he's going to do next, so to speak. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they seemed on a collision course. Joshua at the Ring Magazine Awards show mentioning Tyson Fury. No, we don't know. Turkey Al Sheikh is saying that he wants to do Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, and yeah, they're at similar stages in their respective careers. They've both seen better days, much better days, and I think realistically, it's probably is the right time to do that fight now at this stage. The crucial thing you need to remember is though is that Wilder has an interim fight. Well, it hasn't been announced yet, but for all intent and purpose, it seems very likely he's going to be fighting Curtis Harper. And you would expect Wilder to go in there, do a job on Curtis Harper, and then go on into the Joshua fight. It's a real good way of reselling Deontay Wilder because he should do a demolition job. If he doesn't, then really, I don't even know where to go with that. But he should do that, and then it will be an easier sell. You can sell it that Wilder is back, all that good stuff. Should Joshua not get an interim fight though in the meantime? If Wilder is going to have one on BLK and there's no reason that Joshua needs to be fighting on the Saudi show, I don't see why he can't just fight on a standard DAZN show in London, in the O2, in the Wembley Arena, OVO. Probably a bit too small, but you get what I mean. Why can't he do that? And for me, Eddie Hearn has mentioned the possibility of Joshua having, an interim fight even before Tyson Fury. He's also given a list of names. Bacoli is on that list. Wilder, Zhang versus Caballel, Dubois versus Parker winner. And he also mentioned Dillian Whyte. Now for me, I think that Dillian Whyte versus Anthony Joshua now in 2025, nearly a decade, it'll be a decade come December, after their first meeting, now would be the perfect somewhat of a confidence builder for Anthony Joshua. You can't rehabilitate him at this point in his career. It's done. He's 35 years old. He's been devastatingly knocked out. I'm talking about Joshua now. Devastatingly knocked out. There's not much else you can teach him. It's done. There's no... That time for rehabilitation and rebuilding was 23. It's gone now. It's now 2025. It's not going to happen. So you need to give him a confidence builder. A bit like what Deontay Wilder was doing. They were trying... Dillian Whyte was one of the confidence builders in 23. The only reason the fight didn't happen is because Dillian Whyte returned an adverse analytical finding. Not for the first time, mind you, in his career. Not for the first time. And now he's kind of out in the wilderness, so to speak. He fought in Castlebar, March of last year. He fought in Gibraltar just before Christmas against Ebenezer Tete. And in both of those fights, especially the Ebenezer Tete fight, he looked horrendous. He looked as slow as anything. Tete is not a particularly good fighter. He's definitely not in his mid-30s, no way. God knows how old he really is. And a guy who was knocked out without really even trying by Daniel Dubois in a round 5 years ago. So that's the guy Dillian Whyte is struggling with. The fight is not pay-per-view. Their first fight was pay-per-view. It was for a British title. That was unheard of at the time, by the way. A British title fight being on pay-per-view was pretty much unheard of at the time. And it probably still would be now, to be honest with you. But that was the star Anthony Joshua was even before he was a world champion. That you were putting his fights, his British title fights, on pay-per-view. And it was a very good undercard as well. I remember that card very well. It was a very good undercard. Eubank Jr. fought Spike O'Sullivan on it. Bellew fought Mastanek, amongst others. It's a great card. And they were able to do a pay-per-view. Couldn't do it now. They tried to do it 2 years ago, and once Dillian Whyte returned those findings, they brought it back down to standard DAZN. I think it's standard DAZN now anyway. But that fight right there for me is the confidence builder Anthony Joshua needs. Dillian Whyte, you could even ask the question about his punching power nowadays, because Ebenezer Tete against Daniel Dubois couldn't find the canvas quick enough. Dillian Whyte hit him plenty of shots. And I know his right hand is not his strongest punch, but he hit him with right hands, and that wasn't even... He was fine. Maybe not fine, but he was taking them well enough. Better than he took Dubois' shots. So I look at that and I think, right, look, the punching power is even going. He's so slow, it's not even funny. The uppercut is still there. Even Ebenezer Tete was letting uppercuts go and he was hitting Dillian Whyte with them. So the uppercut is still a problem. There's so much stuff there gone wrong with Dillian Whyte that Joshua could exploit. And you'd look at that and you'd say, that is the perfect comeback fight for Anthony Joshua. If you want to sell Wilder Joshua that they're not both completely washed up, which they are, but you're trying to sell it to the casual audience, You have Wilder go in with Curtis Harper whenever in April, and maybe in May you have Joshua on a standard DAZN show. No point putting it on in Saudi Arabia, although maybe they try. God knows. But you put it on standard DAZN in the O2 in London. Whyte versus Joshua. Put the undercard. Put Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen on the undercard. And there you go. Decent show on DAZN. And Joshua should win that fight fairly comfortably. You would imagine anyway. He should win it fairly comfortably. And that to me would give Joshua a bit of confidence. You know, I beat this guy again, but you know, I've done it in good fashion. Wilder be probably coming in off the back of a win, you would expect. And boom, there you go. You can do the fight then. I think Dillian Whyte is the only opponent for him, for Anthony Joshua, to really come back against. Because I genuinely don't think you'd need to go so far down a level that I think most fans wouldn't be interested. And if you got even a semi-decent opponent at this stage, maybe top 30, you'd be looking and thinking, golly, you know, coming back off the back of that loss to Daniel Dubois, you wouldn't know what would happen. You know, it's not like Daniel Dubois when he lost to Usyk, put him straight in with Jarrell Miller. Dubois was, 24, 25 at the time. And, you know, he'd suffered defeats, not crushing defeats like the way he knocked Anthony Joshua out. So you could do that with Dubois. Joshua, 10 years older and way more miles on the clock. You need to be so careful. So I would do Joshua versus Dillian Whyte. I think now is literally the perfect time to do it. There is the elephant in the room where it's like, is Dillian Whyte allowed to fight with the board? Is he not? Well, Conor Benn pretty much showed the blueprint of what to do. You just don't play ball with the British Boxing Board of Control and UCAD. You fight elsewhere under other licenses in other countries, and then after about 2 years or a year and a half, it's all war. It's all under the bridge. You know, we dusted under the bridge, and it's done. You've served your ban, quote unquote, and yeah, you can fight again. So I reckon they do that. I reckon they do it. Come what may, be nearly 2 years. I reckon they're going to do something like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. People, as always, hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And until next time, people, I will leave it there. Peace.